I have this profile of resisting the oppressor, regardless of the price I have to pay, is because of Malcolm X. Who is this fella from Trinidad always mentioning my husband's name? I opened my speech by saying, Malcolm lived for Allah, and Malcolm died for Allah. And then she turned to me with fire in her eyes. But Imam, he didn't sign the contract. But at the end of the road, I still remain a solitary figure. No bookshop will take my books. No. And the scholars stay away from me. People who have wealth are scared. They're scared. From the time they meet me, they get to like me, and then after a while they're silent. They're scared. So it's a painful experience. It's a lonely experience to have the profile that I have, one of resisting the oppressor, regardless of the price we have to pay. And one of the reasons why I have this profile of resisting the oppressor, regardless of the price I have to pay, is because of Malcolm X. I was a young man when I was thrilled by Malcolm, He thrilled me. The courage, the charisma, the integrity of this man, Malcolm. When I went to Britain, to New York, and I started lecturing in New York, mentioning Malcolm's name all the time. His wife was still alive. His wife, who is this fellow? Who is this fellow from Trinidad always mentioning my husband's name? Her name was Betty Shabazz. So Betty decided that she will have a symposium organized in was it Upper Manhattan, in Harlem, and the topic was Beyond Malcolm X, the future of Islamic scholarship, Islamic leadership in the United States. And 4 speakers were selected, and I was one. But Betty came because of me. And the hall was packed, and she was sitting at the back of the hall. And I was escorted to the back to meet her. I'm meeting Malcolm's wife for the first time in my life. She never smiled. She never welcomed me. She just greeted me. She's watching me to see my profile. And I opened my speech by saying, Malcolm lived for Allah, and Malcolm died for Allah. And that's the profile we need. But then I made the mistake to say that Malcolm didn't know about riba. And that's why when the Nation of Islam firebombed his home, he went to the bank and he got a bank loan on interest to buy a house. So when the symposium was over, now she had to come forward and give her views. And she's walking slowly from the back of the hall. She comes on the platform. She takes up the mic and she begins, without looking at me. The Imam said, my husband lived for Allah. The Imam said, my husband died for Allah. And that's the profile of Islamic leadership we need. And then she turned to me with fire in her eyes. But Imam, he didn't sign the contract. He died before he could sign the contract. Then I had to go to give another lecture. So she was sitting, autographing books, the autograph. And when I said goodbye to her, she says, I'll autograph one for you. And later I got the copy. And she said about me, she says, you are a born leader of men and women. And it wasn't long after that a grandson of hers her daughter Kabila had a son named Malcom. And that son was only about 12 years of age and living in Los Angeles, and the mother couldn't handle him. So the mother sent him to her grandmother. And that's a mistake she made, because the boy was already the son of a broken marriage. His mother had problems with drinking, and he was suffering. He was unstable. And by sending him to his grandmother, and the grandmother now is very firmly locking him in, it broke him. So he, without thinking, he put gasoline from the door on the carpet, waited until his grandmother entered the house, and then he put the match. And the flame switched, and she suffered about 80% burns her body. And it was just about the time when I was leaving United States for Trinidad, because I had to spend time in Trinidad to get the US green card. And we went to the hospital. All the daughters of Malcolm X were there. And they knew about me. They knew about my profile. And she lasted for maybe 2 or 3 weeks and she died. And then we went to the cemetery, and I'm seeing the grave, Malcolm's grave, for the first time in my life. And all the daughters asked me to recite Surah Al-Fatiha before the burial. Someone else had conducted the janazah. And then she was buried. The daughters wanted me to take that boy with us and keep him living with us. But we were just about to leave United States. We couldn't do it. And he eventually grew up, and he was unstable, and he went to Mexico, and they killed him in Mexico. He died. So Malcolm was a tremendous influence on me. Tremendous. The profile of courage to defy the oppressor, regardless of the price I have to pay.